Hey everyone, welcome back to Teen TV Deep Dive. Here on this podcast, we talk about all things Teen TV. Today, if you couldn't tell, is a very special day. We're celebrating 1 year of me having this podcast. So if you've been here for the journey, thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. And to celebrate, I thought it would be fun to drop a bonus episode today. I wanted to continue talking about Love Island because it's everyone's obsession this summer, including myself. And it was a lot of fun, especially last night. That super juicy episode of the whole Casa Amor experience was super good, so I wanted to talk about it. But before that, I wanted to give a quick disclaimer. I acknowledge that all Islanders and participants of the show are real people with valid thoughts and feelings, and they have so many lived experiences, and their life is so much bigger than just what happens in the villa, and that the way that the show is edited and clipped may not depict them in the best way possible and fully show their character. And I am not making any personal attacks or accusations at their character. I'm just sharing my opinions and observations that I've made in the 1 hour episodes that we see as viewers each day. Nothing more, nothing less. Now that that's out the way, let's talk about the show. So if you're not already privy to how Casa Amor works, basically all of the guys and girls that we've been watching for the past 19 episodes are separated. The girls are going off to this separate villa called Casa Amor. And then while they're all separated from their couples, there are new people introduced to try and connect with and grow. And the purpose of Casa Amor is to test their relationships and see if their original couples are what's best for them. So today was the second day of the new recoupling and just seeing how Casa is affecting everyone. So the first couple I wanted to talk about was Shelly and Ace. I apologize in advance. I don't really know many of the Casa guys' names, so bear with me. With Shelly and Ace, she definitely made a huge height upgrade. This guy's like 2 feet taller than Ace. And I also think he's a lot more relaxed and just chill, which I really do appreciate. And with Ace, I think he's not so much focused on his connection with Shelly anymore. I think he's just trying to orchestrate the best possible environment for their connection to try and stay on top. We seen in the last episode that Jeremiah had ended up getting sent home. Super sad. In my personal opinion, I don't think he deserved it, but the villa had a vote and the guys chose to vote out Jeremiah. And my personal opinion on this is that I think that Jeremiah is just a lover boy. I don't know. He just has it in him like that to find these super concrete connections within the villa really fast. I think that Ace is kind of threatened by that. And so that's why he wanted to vote him off. And that's why Ace is trying to orchestrate the villa and be the boss of everybody, honestly. And I feel like it's pretty unnecessary. But we've seen that Ace is coupled up with this girl named Vanna originally, but there's a recoupling ceremony that we'll talk more about later. And he ends up with this girl named Coco. I do think Coco is a little bit more his speed. I believe they're from the same city as well. So they have that thing in common, and it'll just be a little bit more likely for them to work out past the villa because they're already in close proximity. In my opinion, I don't think Shelly and Ace, when the whole Casa Amor experience is over with, I don't think they're going to recouple with the people that they've met there. I do think that Shelly may apply some pressure to Ace to be a little bit more understanding to her feelings, as we've seen with her guy that she has currently. But I don't think either one of them are going to recouple. I think that Ace is really focused on having a good brand and just presenting himself well on the show into America. So he automatically feels like he has that loyalty to Shelly. And then with Shelly, I just think that she's really into Ace and it's something that she's wanted for a really long time since being in the villa. So she wouldn't want to give it up just over a couple days with a different guy. Moving on, I wanted to talk about Pepe and Hannah. Hannah did get eliminated in the previous episodes. She ended up getting voted off as the girls had come to a decision. She was super emotional about it, and I think her and Pepe had a really good thing going on, because if you can't already tell from how messy Love Island is, if the relationship isn't dysfunctional or messy, you aren't going to get much screen time. And genuinely, I just think Pepe must be a good person, because he doesn't have any screen time. He's rarely in the confessionals. He doesn't really have his chats on screen. We don't really see them that much as viewers. So I'm just assuming that he must be an amazing person then, because we never hear from him. And we also see that Pepe is coupled up with this new Casa girl named Grayson, and she looks like Hannah. If you didn't know any better, her and Hannah look like the exact same person. So he has a little bit of a type. I don't think he's gonna complain too much about Grayson. We have, like I said, we haven't really seen much of their conversations to see if that connection is stronger enough for Pepe to miss Hannah. But I think he's happy for the time being and the situation that's there. Next couple I wanted to talk about is Amaya Papaya and Austin Boston. We've seen previously that Austin has kind of confided in some of the guys that him and Amaya's connection is not really what he's wanting. And he said that it's because Amaya is really overbearing. They both kind of connected on the fact that their love language is allegedly physical touch. But when Amaya is all huggy and lovey-dovey on him and using pet names and stuff like that, he feels smothered, which is pretty funny because just in the past we've seen Austin feel like he's not getting enough attention from Shelly, and just feels like he comes in last place because she was splitting her attention between Austin and Ace. So I feel like how the tables have turned, he was just the one complaining about not getting enough, and then now in his new couple he says that it's too much. With Austin, I think he's trying to insinuate he wants a more intimate type of physical touch and like just physical affection. And I don't think his is as genuine or as innocent as Amaya's, and that's why he has a problem, because even though they both literally said the same thing, I think their definition of what physical touch looks like and what they want from the other person is drastically different. And I just want my Amaya Papaya to find her an emotionally intelligent man, because she really deserves it. I think that she's taking the opportunities that are kind of bad and taking the rejections that she's finding in her connections as redirection. And I love that for her, and I love to see her actively growing and just trying to be better and make better connections. But also at the same time, I feel like she just needs to find someone that will appreciate her for her. I don't think there's anything wrong with being a affectionate person or a touchy-feely person. I just think Amaya needs to find the right person to appreciate her for that. And also with just how in tune with her emotions she is, I think that she needs someone who's willing to understand that and show her that empathy that she needs to fully support her. And with Austin, I think his time in the villa has come to an end. It doesn't seem like he's trying to make any real connection, like actually find love. I think he's here for a good time, and I don't really think it needs to be a long time. I think his time is over, and I'm pretty much over him at this point. So, yeah. Moving on, I wanted to talk about TJ. Well, not really, but he's just not giving. The way that the Casa girls were introduced to the Villa boys, they were all blindfolded, the guys were, and the girls had to go around and kiss each one of them. The guys were under the impression that it was the girls that they were already coupled up with, and when they removed their blindfolds, the guys figured out, wow, this is Casa Amor, and these are a new group of girls. But TJ rated each of the girls' kisses extremely low. And he ended up being single because of that, because that was his first impression to all of them. And so nobody was really rocking with him like that afterwards. And he was trying to, get in good with them and try and connect with the girls because he was left single and vulnerable. And he was like, well, I didn't know that you guys were different. I was trying to rank you guys based off of the girls that we already knew. And that's also weird too. Why are you trying to humble the girls that you already knew? I know they might not be his type, but he did seem to be interested in Iris and Cierra. So I feel like at least 2 out of the 5 kisses should have been rated a little bit better, but it was just weird behavior all in all. And that put a bad taste in my mouth. I already didn't really get much from him with his bombshell arrival, but this just put him on a negative angle for me. Next is Iris. I don't know if her and TJ are coupled up, but I just grouped them together because I feel like it made the most sense for me. But I do see that Iris fits in really well with the girls. She just seems to be really close with all of them. And it makes me wonder, what are we not seeing and what conversations are we not having? Because I'm not really sure how to feel about Iris because like I said, I haven't seen much of her, but the way that she's so locked in with all of the girls, it seems like she's just a really genuine person and is a genuine friend to all of them. It really makes me want to see her more on camera and just get to know her better. Next is Huda. Huda has been single for a while, and she's been especially single after Jeremiah unfortunately got sent home. My heart is broken. I don't think he should have, but that's my personal opinion. But for Huda, she's trying to talk to all the different guys in the villa. Like, she was talking to TJ and Pepe before Casa started, and afterwards she's been talking to another guy. He doesn't have a problem with her being a mom, and he kind of seems to be into her whole emotional dysregulation, to put it in the nicest. And hey, if that's what he likes, that's what he likes. Who can I be to try and tell him to think otherwise? But I really need Huda to learn how to flirt because I think everybody is, as a whole on Love Island, is so used to being like the cream of the crop in their hometown. And so they don't really have to try as hard when it comes to building romantic connections and trying to get attention from people that you're interested in. And so with Huda, you can tell she's not trying hard at all. She's batting her eyelashes. She's like, "Oh, do you think I'm pretty? Like, you know I'm pretty." Or she was telling TJ when she was trying to get to know him, she's like, "Yeah, I know you like that kiss and the challenge." And it's like, where's the banter? Where's the witty remarks, the jokes? She is kind of very self centered. Every sentence starts off with I or me or my. I think she just needs to step outside of herself for a second and actually try and get to know the next person. And I think the results of her and her connections that she would build would be tremendously better. Next couple I wanted to talk about is Alandria and Taylor. In Casa Amor, we've seen that Alandria is kind of vibing with this guy named Zach. He's from the UK. Shout out to Love Islanders producers for finding some of Miguel's UK friends because the bombshells previous to that were not doing it. But I'm glad they listened. But her and Zach, they were a lot closer in age. He's 29 and she's 27, which I thought was a lot better because I've been saying that for the longest, that the guys need to be older to match the girls in emotional maturity. And so I think they vibed really well. They just had a lot more in common and just seemed to be mentally on the same page. And then over in the villa, Taylor had 2 girls fighting over him. And I'm trying to figure out how, because all the people who enter the villa after the OGs get to watch the show and are up to speed on all the relationships and just dynamics that they have going on in there. And I don't know, Taylor's interest that he's been showing to Alandria and just the amount of effort that he hasn't been putting into their relationship is not very intriguing to me. So I personally wouldn't have wanted to couple up with Taylor if this is what I had been seeing from him for weeks at this point. But two girls seem to be into it. He was excited to be in a love triangle. He was absolutely geeked. And you would see Ace and Nick, they were sidebarring, trying to put in their 2 cents on who they thought would be the better connection for Taylor, and how they were saying, oh yeah, like, I love Alandria, but man, she has run for her money. I just didn't like that. I don't like how, like I said earlier, I don't like how Ace and Nick are kind of accomplices and how they run the villa and try and order people around. It's just not a fan of it. And I do think that Taylor bonded a little bit more with Clark because she is a lot more reserved like Alandria. But I also think that I believe she's younger than Alandria too. But I believe she isn't as set in stone in her standards like Alandria is. So I feel like that's why Taylor leaned more to Clark over her. And Nick and Cierra, Nick, he's just thirsty. I'm not even gonna hold you. The way that he will find somebody that he finds attractive every time, if you line up every girl that Nick has called beautiful or said that he has a thing for or wants to take for a chat, they all look drastically different, and Nick don't care. It's all equal opportunity for him. And I just need him to dial down the thirst factor just a little bit because he's already ready to put Cierra in the back burner and focus on this girl named Jordan, who's a Casa girl. And they were kind of vibing, but not gonna lie, Jordan seemed inebriated in their conversation. I don't know if she was, but she just didn't seem as fully present in their conversation as Nick was, and just not as into it. So I don't know how Nick is gonna fare well with her and trying to connect with her. And Cierra, honestly, yeah, I think it's time to maybe walk away from things with Nick, because immediately when all the Villa guys and Casa girls had sat down to fully introduce themselves to each other, Nick was like, yeah, I had a relationship with Cierra. Had? Past tense already? Like, she hasn't even been gone for 20 minutes yet, and you're saying had. It's kind of crazy. And to see Cierra bonding with her new Casa guy, he looks like Nick, but just like slightly different and a slightly different font. But his way of thinking is something that Cierra really likes, and just the way that they're connecting intellectually, I think is something that we haven't been able to see from Nick and Cierra. I think they connect really well. They have a good physical chemistry, and Nick and Cierra can just joke around and kind of talk about the silly, more mundane things. But to see Cierra kind of question, would she be able to intellectually keep up with that guy, and saying that she's intrigued by him, is raises an eyebrow for me. And I think I'm kind of interested in that. I think I want to see Cierra explore that even more. If I don't know if that's what's best for her, but I definitely think she should lean into the experience as best as she can while she's away at Casa. Now we're going to talk about the last few moments of this episode, and there's a recoupling. Like I said, the Casa people have a lot more agency than they have in previous seasons. And so there was one single islander in both houses. For the girls at Casa Amor, that was Amaya. And for the guys back at the villa, it was TJ. And there was a recoupling ceremony in the first 24 hours that basically said that if you had an interest in Amaya over the person that you're currently coupled up with, please stand up. And so Zach, the guy that was coupled up with Alandria, had stood up, and Amaya really didn't want to. It was a super emotional ceremony, and so they ended up sitting down, and Alandria had stood up, and the same process had happened again, and no one stood up for her. And so Alandria had to leave the island, and it was very emotional for everyone except for her. She tried to stay as strong as she could, which I felt like was really admirable about her. But at the same time, I just I honestly got emotional during this episode too, because with Alandria, I think that she's been so loyal to Taylor and just trying to be as respectful as possible and move in a way that's true to herself throughout this experience. But I just don't think she's found anyone yet to appreciate her for who she truly is. I think at this point, Alandria may be considering that she should have kept Jalen and saw that connection through a little bit more, because Jalen was very interested in her and was ready to put in the effort to build their connection more, but she just wanted to be more compatible on that mental side. And same thing with Zach. The cycle had repeated. I think Zach definitely connected with Alandria more in a conversational way, and just they were there in the same space mentally, but because Amaya, no shade to her, but because Amaya is that lovey-dovey person and loves that physical affection, they kissed sooner. I think that's what swayed Zach's decision to pick Amaya over Alandria. And so with that, I just feel like this whole experience, I just feel I empathize with her a lot, because she's constantly trying to choose herself and move in a way that's respectful to her boundaries and her morals, and it's just not working out positively for her. Like that elimination, I'm getting emotional about it right now, but that elimination was one of the most emotional ones that I've ever seen on Love Island. Even I've never ever cried from an episode, but that had my eyes sweating a little bit. Um, but yeah, I just think Alandria deserves better. I think Taylor is not putting in nearly enough effort to show Alandria his appreciation for her. I don't know if it's the way that the show is edited or what, but for Alandria, I really think she needs to walk away from that connection, because if somebody truly genuinely cares about you, there's no way that the editors and producers of the show could try and clip it in a way or portray their scenes in a way that he's not interested. They would just simply not show them at all. And to see Taylor constantly just seeming disengaged from the conversation, just distant from her, I don't think she deserves that. I think she deserves a lot better. So, yeah, sorry if I got a little bit intense, but I really do care for Alandria, and I think she's one of the people who I'm rooting for. So, seeing her being done bogus just makes me emotional. And then over at the villa, they kind of have a recoupling hop from person to person. So like I said, TJ stands up and Ace gets recoupled with Coco, and then Taylor gets recoupled with Clark. That's the person who Nick was originally coupled up with when all the Casa girls had came in. And Nick was the person who was left vulnerable. And it made a lot of the guys get super emotional, because I was truly shocked. Nick and Ace were best friends, so I thought since Ace is the one who's calling all the shots around here, that he would have seen that coming and have done something to try and not have Nick end up in that predicament. But they were reliant on this girl named Jaden, who Nick was vibing with earlier, and she ended up staying in a couple with Austin. And so Nick had to leave as well. Seeing how emotional everybody got and the tears that were shared, I do think that it was good to see just genuine male friendship on a show, especially on a reality TV show, which is something that's rare to come by. But I also just couldn't help but feel bad for Jeremiah and how he didn't get that same treatment. Nick had tears. They were hugging. Everybody felt so devastated and bad. And then for Jeremiah, he just got a dap up and, oh, sorry, bro, it's not personal. It shows that it was very much personal if there weren't any tears that were shred because of Jeremiah's elimination. And I stand by that. I think that there was a lot of jealousy, and the elimination that happened previous to that with Jeremiah just wasn't genuine. And I think this one, everybody was in tears. And I think this one shows that the glue of the villa, Alandria for the girls and Nick for the guys, when that's ripped away, it truly does have a lasting effect on everyone. And so we see as Nick is leaving the villa, he's walking off, looks pretty devastated, but we see that they're filming this departure scene a lot longer than what they normally do. And then we see this black truck pulls up and Nick is walking up to it. He's trying to get his ride home. And then Alandria opens the door and she's like, "Come on, Nick, come on." And he's shocked. I'm shocked. And he runs into the truck and they're gone. I've seen a lot of people online just trying to theorize what is going to happen and what are going to be the next steps. And here's what I think. I think a possibility could be for them to swap villas. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I've seen a lot of people online talk about it, so I wanted to mention it. Where Alandria would go from being in Casa Amor to the villa and Nick vice versa. I don't think this is what's best. I think if you truly want to test the relationship and just let that person explore more, that they shouldn't go into the same house as their partner, because Cierra is probably going to stop exploring with Ellen because Nick is just going to be there. He's already been in the house with all these other girls and he's not really interested in them anymore. And then same thing with Alandria. She's really only going to be looking at Taylor, and with him trying to get to know Clark better, I feel like it's just not going to work as well. So I hope it's not the case where they end up swapping villas. And another theory that I have is that Nick and Alandria are going to go on the date. I think they're going to be privy to a little bit more information and just what America thinks about them, because way back when, maybe last week or so, when everybody had to vote about who they thought was the favorite Islander, Alandria probably definitely won for the girls, and Nick was probably the favorite boy, and they said that those Islanders may or may not go on a date. But then I think everybody got so distracted with Casa that nobody really thought about, well, what happened with this date that they were going to go on. So I think that this would be the perfect time for Nick and Alandria to go on the date, test their connection, and be able to come back in when Casa is said and done with. I think that may be pretty cool. And also for them to see on camera what Cierra and Taylor are up to. I think they'll probably do that as well, to maybe motivate them to explore each other more and not just see each other as friends as much. And I doubt this is going to happen, but this is my favorite thing to imagine, is that they have a Hotel Amor situation, which is what happens on the UK version of Love Island, where all of the people, instead of Casa Amor, all of the people are shuffled up into different couples. They don't have a choice. And they are in this Hotel Amor, and there are no cameras, and it's just the two of them there for days. And I think that would really test how loyal Alandria and Nick are to Cierra and Taylor. But I doubt that's going to happen, but I think it would be cool. Nonetheless, that ending clip was definitely more fuel for the Nick Alandria hive. I know it restored all my hope, especially after Casa and just everything that was happening beforehand. I think I really needed that little clip. It kept me going. But yeah, if you made it to the end, comment down below, what do you think's going to happen with Nick and Alandria, since they were just gently asked to leave the island and they weren't fully dumped. Gently asked to leave the villa and weren't fully dumped. Comment down below what you think is going to happen next, as well as to be sure to